apocalypse.
Yeah, and like the whole season had kind of been up to some sort of point like that.
Yeah, and like Sam had to have a major redemption thing. Like he was owed, like he owed the world a redemption thing to resolve this problem that he had started with his own arrogance.
And they had made that, like, season 4 and 5 is such a full arc for that, that makes, I think, that death, like, really resonant.
I want to talk about some, like, characters who, like, sacrificed themselves and then, like, were brought back unsacrificed and then, like, kind of, like, just, like, killed off. One is Eileen, who we kind of already talked about. You know, she had a very unsatisfying death. And then she's brought back. She has a really great arc for her, like, few episodes that she's back for. And then she's just kind of killed off and glory wiped into non-existence.
Yay.
Again, super unsatisfying for someone that they had done so much mirroring of. Like, they had done so much work around her as Sam's endgame.
They doomed Kevin in order to bring Eileen back. Like, that was the whole reason that Kevin got screwed over.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Kevin is.
Once again.
Yet again.
Kevin's whole arc in the entire show is just him getting screwed over and over again.
Right? He did nothing to deserve anything that happened to him. He's accidentally, like, such a passive character because he has absolutely sure what happens to him.
And that's, like, is multiple story arcs that all revolve around that, which I think is part of why his death is really frustrating because, again, his death is not even, like, I think I would have been more, I don't want Kevin to be killed off. If he had to have killed off, I would have preferred him to have had some agency in that, like him to have a self-sacrificing ending or something that awkward, as opposed to just, like, showing how, like, it was
And they had too many storylines going, because I think if they had taken more time, like, Sam feels really, like guilty about it. He just talks about it, like, once or twice about how, like, bad he feels, and, like, that is not his fault either. Like, it's not Sam's fault, but, like, it feels like his fault, and, like, we just don't spend any time on that, so, like, it just kind of happens for nothing.
Kevin just dies, and it's just, like, everyone is guilty and traumatized by it, but they don't, like, use that for anything valuable.
Yet another, like, character death where, like, Jensen's acting, like, makes me feel more than anything else, where, like, because, like, Dean has a big emotional scene where he is, like, trashing the bunker, like, he's just mad that Kevin's dead.
Yeah,
because, like, Kevin spends most of his screen time being, like, a living MacGuffin for everybody, and then he ends being fridged.
And Kevin does have some great storylines where he, like, tries to regain his agency. He has some great scenes with Crowley where he, like, does regain agency, and then they just, like, throw it away to kill him off for seemingly no reason.
Like, it just seems to further the plot, that's all it is, so.
Well, and they could have kept him around, because then it's like they need the prophet, like, literally, like, the next season. Like, it's not like it's not like his, like, character role, like, outside of, like, character development. Like, his role as, like, the prophet and the person who can, like, read the tablets and talk to God or whatever, like, that does not go away. That is still required. They just have to replace him with someone new. Also, in the scene where they're, like, burning Kevin's body, they play the famous final scene, which plays in the season 15, like, premiere, which is, like, right after Jack's death in the season 15 premiere, and, like, that's a moment.
I can't believe it took me this long to realize that Kevin was basically just a very sassy decoder ring, was very disrespected.
I mean, that is his role.
I feel so bad for him. He deserves so much better.
Another character who has, like, a initial death and then is brought back and then just immediately killed off again is Gabriel.
Yeah.
Gabriel has a great death that is, like, you know, kind of unsatisfying, but, like, kind of also, like, makes sense to, like, fulfill his character flaws that he's shown. Like, it is, like, a coming to terms with his situation moment.
Yeah.
And, like,
the one with Lucifer.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's, like, it has some, like, satisfaction
in terms of like,
story-wise and
he faces his family and he gets involved after saying he doesn't want to be involved all this time.
He makes the right choice,
and then they bring him back and he's here for three episodes and then he's dead again. Like,
and he's dead way less satisfying the first time.
Yeah, basically for nothing. Like,
it's an example. It's way like, and I think that's sometimes a thing that the writers and producers fell into the trap of being like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could bring XYZ actor back?
And I don't like it.
And it doesn't work most of the time.
I do not like Bobby or Charlie. I kind of hate them. And, like, it's not their fault. I'm really always happy to see Jim Beaver and Felicia Day. But, like, after you did Charlie so dirty, how dare you bring back someone who looks like Charlie but isn't Charlie? Like,
yeah.
And with Bobby, like, how dare you make me look at a character that looked exactly like Bobby, but, like, does not see Sam and Dean as, like, our Bobby saw Sam and Dean. Like, does not look at them and see, like, his sons. Like,
it doesn't have the same feeling, because, again, not the same character, and they're trying to get around the whole, like, we want to bring these people back, can't just, like, bring them back from the dead, so we're going to bring back alternate you know, like, there are some things I really like about Apocalypse World, and some things I really don't like.
Are you Bobby, like, in particular, like, look at Sam and Dean as, like, colleagues, like, equals?
Oh,
and,
I don't like it.
And I don't like it. I'm like, Bobby would never treat them this way. Like, because, like, Bobby, like, loved them.
Yeah, Bobby's their dad.
I'm kind of glad we're bringing up Charlie and Bobby, because another thing about character death is that you're not just killing the character, you're murdering, like, everything they could have brought to the story up into killing all the potential. And I feel like Bobby and Charlie still had a lot of the story and was killed so prematurely in a very unsatisfying way.
There's another, like, trope that feels like it needs to be talked about here, and that is bury your gaze.
Yeah.
Because I think that is something that starts in Supernatural in season 2, with the first named queer character, Lily, being killed about 3 minutes after we find out that she's gay.
And she's the first person in that whole group chat. Like, eventually everybody in that group ends up dead, but, like, she's the very first one. Like, it is like, hi, I'm Lily, I'm gay, and now I'm dead.
Also, her girlfriend died.
She's also a character who's assigned, who's like, responsible. Like, she caused death, and then she's killed very explicitly, like, she's killed for the fact that she's gay in a lot of ways.
She's the only special children has absolutely, like, zero ability to control her powers and has, like, a destructive power. Like, the only other characters who, like, have zero ability to control their powers is Sam and Ava.
Yeah, and it's very...
Their powers are not harmful to other people around them. Like,
and it's, like, a very common thing in queer coded characters or explicitly queer characters that they're, like, dangerous. Like, the idea of, like, a queer character dangerous, like, them giving her the ability, this uncontrollable ability that only causes harm. Like, there's nothing positive that can be done with her power at all. Whereas some of the other children, even Sam and Ava, there's some actual positives that come out of their power.
yeah, Sam uses his to save people. Like,
yeah, Lily's has nothing like that, and I feel like that is so, like, they start out that kind of legacy.
also, in Faith, a queer man dies to save Dean.
But he also dies because he's queer. Like, explicitly for
it is
that
explicitly
reason.
because he is queer.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, they don't get, like, better at this, because, like, basically every queer character eventually dies.
Charlie dies. I mean, Ash. Like, we kill Ash as a queer character.
And a lot of them get some of the worst deaths.
Yeah.
And some of them get, like, I mean, in Ghost Facers.
Wasn't my brain wasn't there, but now it is.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, again, one of these characters that's kind of killed for the fact that they're queer.
It's hard to even think of characters who are, like, explicitly, like, canonically queer. I mean, not that every character needs to be explicitly queer, but, like, there's just so few that are explicitly queer on Supernatural, and then, like, literally every single one of them is, like, dead.
And it's something that they don't get, like, some of it, like, not that it's not forgivable because it's the early 2000s, but some of it, you know.
And it's not the early 2000s by the end of the show.
That's the point. I was like, they are doing it up to third to last episode. They are doing
in 2020
with and they're doing it with main characters, like, immediately after confirming that they're queer. Like, obviously, I'm talking about Cass, but, like, they're doing that immediately. Yeah, and that's just not okay.
Yeah, that's not 2005 anymore. That is 2020, and that is a character that we've spent 12 seasons.
Like, it's not so much that he expresses his love. It's like right after he expresses his love for Dean, it's like oh well, time to go away, I guess. So.
And then Dean immediately dies too. Like, it's the other thing. It's not like
bury your gaze is, and like you were saying, Meredith, about, like, fridging. Like, bury your gaze is another one that's, like, never okay. Like, it's never. That's not a trope that you are like, oh well, sometimes this trope is used well and sometimes it's terrible. It's like, no, bury your gaze is just a bad trope. Like, it's a way of harming queer characters and viewers.
It's not necessary either, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a thing to say, but then now my brain's on the confession, and
I would say another one that I worry about is like how they treat the POC, the black people, especially like Gordon, like Kendrick.
Yeah, Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
That's another huge, egregious issue of Supernatural, of the way they kill off, characters of color.
Like, Gordon's just portrayed as he's portrayed as a villain, and then it's like, oh well, let's just
Henderson's a villain basically up until the episode where he dies. Like, the second he's not a villain, he gets killed off.
Yeah, characters of color often only either are villains or they only get redeemed in their deaths.
Yeah, and, like, it's not bad to have a queer person die in a show or a person of color be a villain, but it's every single one.
And if it's connected, like, in like the case of Cass, he dies because he confirms that he's queer. Like it is a direct like causation link between this is a queer character and this character is now dead. Like but like Charlie too, like they just kill off Charlie in this like really horrible way for no real reason.
Well, another one I was thinking of was Rufus. The way they killed Rufus off too. That was
Rufus. Yeah, Rufus just dies basically for no reason. Also,
like they said, oh well, he's part of the the worm thing, and it's like, oh well, had to kill him off and then bury him. So
his death wasn't even really that significant. They just did that because they wanted to kill someone.
No, it wasn't. And other characters die in that episode. Samuel Campbell dies. One of the other Campbell cousins dies. Like they just brought in Rufus and killed him off for no reason. Like Rufus is not a recurring character. We don't need to see him. Nothing would have been any different if he just hadn't been there at all. Like
that one just bothered me the way they did it. Like it was
or if like he like came out of that episode alive, like nothing would have been any different like show wise, except for like Bobby would have been in a better mood for his last few episodes. But like there just wasn't any reason to kill Rufus. They just did it because they could. Maybe we should talk about Bobby dying in a bit more detail.
Yes, let's do that.
It's kind of a different sort of death than a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, we got this whole like Bobby's like best memories, which we just talked about on Wayward Parents. But like there's this whole thing where we got this whole like big like character development episode for Bobby, like as he's dying, and like he gets like kind of a goodbye, I guess, and like
like the way
I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, like I was still like heartbroken by
absolutely.
that death, and that's the point. But like it doesn't feel like I'm just. Whereas with like again, not to like Charlie, but like with Charlie, like it's like 2 seconds. And they actually get to like acknowledge the grief.
Like if you're gonna kill off a character for like shock value, even, or like to advance the plot, or like give a character motivation, then like you need to show the characters grieving that death. Like you can't just be like, we're gonna kill someone off. I think they kind of missed a little bit of this with Sam in the early seasons. Like there's a lot of points where Sam like says that he's upset because Jess died, but like we don't see a lot of evidence for that. And like
well, I think it comes back to remembering that character died was a person. Like how would you behave in the real world if somebody close to you died? How would that affect you? And you would be remembering who they were as a person, and you need to show that as a writer so the audience can empathize.
And that's even more important when it's a character like Jess we don't get to know. Whereas I think when it's a character like Bobby, like we also as viewers need a chance to mourn. Like we need to be able to grieve that character as well as the characters in the story have to grieve that character, and like having characters in the story grieve allows viewers to also grieve.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, I've watched so many shows, so I'm going to take us on a tangent outside of the Supernatural universe. I'm actually going to take us on a double tangent, because I'm going to talk about 2 different shows.
Oh no.
I have guesses as to which shows these are, and I'm very curious in why.
Equally long-running shows that have run basically as long as Supernatural. The first one's Grey's Anatomy.
There it is.
Knew it.
It's pretty universal, but like Derek Shepherd is the main love interest. He dies. We have an episode where a year passes in one episode, and then like it's back to things as normal, and like the viewers have only had one episode, but the characters have had a year.
So they've taken away all of that grieving.
Yeah, we did not have time to grieve a character that we had spent 12 years with. The other one I want to talk about is Heartland, which recently killed off its main male like love interest. So Ty gets killed off in the season 14 premiere, and in that same episode a year time skip happens as well, and we had no time to grieve, and I actually found it somewhat unwatchable. I went back like a year later and I rewatched from that point again, and I was able to finish that season, and I enjoyed it, and I was like, okay, like this isn't actually that bad, but I think I was just like so thrown off that I was not having the time to grieve that I needed for that character. Like I think just even a couple of episodes would have made a big difference for me.
I think as a writer you should also anticipate that in your audience,
especially when we get into these like long running shows. Like that was season 14. Like that was a character who'd been around since episode 1. Like
that is a long time to know something, even if it's just a character.
Yeah, and even like someone like Bobby, like not like one of the main characters. She's one of the main side characters for like 7 years.
And there are not many side characters in Supernatural that last as long as Bobby.
Yeah, like Bobby lasts half the show, which is like quite significant.
Like it's Sam, Dean, Cass, Bobby, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the order.
Yeah.
And so giving us the time to actually process that is important. And I think that's like a thing as writers to be aware of.
Well, I think it was was interesting that the audience was processing his death kind of at the same rate he was.
Crowley's one above / maybe tied with Bobby. Like, it's really close.
On the show?
But like some of those are AU Bobby, so like they don't really count. And then like the next most seen character is Jack, and there's a 30 episode difference between Bobby and Crowley and Jack. Like,
wow. Yeah, and Jack's season wise is like
Jack's only in 40 episodes. Like,
but he's only in like 3 seasons. So
right.
that's not that much considering like whereas like